Hi, what's up, you guys? I hope you all are having a great day today. So, today we are finally going to be talking about Ice Spice's debut album, Y2K. Ice Spice had a crazy come up in the rap game back in 2022, and after 2 years of her takeover, we are finally getting an official studio album from her. She's been doing a lot in preparation for this project, and it almost feels like a make or break moment for Ice due to the mass criticism that she's received lately. So I'm definitely interested to see what Y2K is giving. But before we get into all of that, I just want to say if you're interested in female artists, music conversation, music debates, music reviews, and really anything music related, definitely consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. Alright, let's finally dive into Ice Spice's debut album, Y2K. So, as I was saying before, the release of Ice Spice's official debut album felt like a very crucial moment in her career. After blowing up seemingly out of nowhere and receiving mass media attention almost instantaneously, the public perception of Ice Spice was incredibly polarizing. On one hand, she was ridiculed for her lack of substance within her music, and the overall lack of skill led many to refer to Ice as an industry plant. On the other hand, Ice Spice was incredibly popular with the kids as they took a liking to her unique appearance and carefree, fun music. Many suspected that her 15 minutes would end after the hype of Munch and Boys a Liar died down, but Ice Spice and her growing fandom persevered through the hate. With her first mixtape, Like, giving listeners easy-to-listen-to bops such as Bikini Bottom and Princess Diana, many listeners were watching Ice Spice to see what else she could bring to the table. Ice Spice became known for her drill songs during her come-up, and after playing around in a few different sounds over time, the album seems to come back around to that drill sound. She does experiment a little bit on Y2K, and I will get into that shortly, but majority of the tracks are heavily drill-inspired. I honestly don't mind her drill approach within her music, but I will say having majority of the album with these type of beats tends to feel really repetitive. I low-key think it might be time for Ice to really get out there and work with new producers, you feel me? While she and Riot make a great duo and obviously have great chemistry with each other, we've heard this sound a lot within the past 2 years, and I think both of them could really grow from working with new people. I genuinely would like to hear her dabble around in a few more sounds to really diversify the album. I know I've said this before, but I think it would be really smart for her to tap into some pop music, maybe some features on pop songs, She does have some youngins in her fan base, and I know they really like that Karma Boys a Liar vibe from her. Personally, I would have liked to hear her get back into that acting a smoochie, How High, Fisher remix, No Clarity type of bag, a little bit more on Y2K. Did It First is really the only song on the album with this type of bad bitch lover girl type of vibe that I love from her. Did It First is honestly one of my favorite, if not my favorite song off the album because of the mellow, chill, baddie vibe to it. I thought both her and Central C had some great verses on the song. The beat makes me want to dance. The chorus is catchy as hell. This song is a bop and a motherfucking half. As much as I love Did It First, I almost feel it sounds a little bit out of place on this album, as it feels a little bit more upbeat than the rest of the tracks. Every other song is very dark sounding, it leans into that drill, even a little bit of trap sounds, whereas Did It First sounds so airy, so girly, and just carefree. I think the addition of one or two more songs with this easygoing, baddie, lover girl type of vibe really would have helped make the album feel more well-rounded overall. So, as I briefly mentioned before, Ice did experiment a little bit on the Y2K album. I honestly never expected her to lean into this lane, but Ice dabbled in a little bit of some alternative sounds on a few of these tracks. Songs like Papa, I'm Packing, and Plenty Sun possess a slightly alt-sounding beat, and I just really never predicted Ice to hop on. So I'm not gonna lie to y'all, as I was listening to these songs during my initial listen through, I was like, what does this remind me of? And then about halfway through I'm Packing, I was like, oh, this is Playboy Cardi's flow. And then I heard the beat to Plenty Sun, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is a Cardi type beat. I honestly don't know why I was so shocked by her taking inspiration from him, as they were seen posting each other back and forth at the beginning of the year. I think he had gifted her like a chain, and it was just kind of speculated that they would be on each other's albums. I genuinely thought that he'd pop out with like a feature or something, but it honestly sounds like he gave her some tips when it comes to her flow, and possibly even inspired some of these beats. I also saw some people online saying that it also reminded them of Cardi, so I'm happy that I wasn't the only one picking up on this. Papa is honestly a standout for me, as I love the cadence of her voice in this song. It's definitely different than what we usually expect from Ice. I honestly don't know how I feel about her in this alternative sound, as I do like some aspects of it, but I feel like it just doesn't quite suit her. Perhaps in the future, if she keeps improving and dabbling in this lane, it might sound a little bit more natural for her. A common critique that I've heard, and I honestly agree with, of Ice Spice in this entire rollout is that it just does not have that authentic Y2K vibe that many anticipated from this album. Branding the album and the era as Y2K kinda implies that some aspects of the project will take inspiration from the Y2K era. I was expecting those hype club bangers that we got back in the 2000s. I'm talking Get Low, In the Club, Hot in Here type vibes. She could have even sampled Soulja Boy and created a hype ass banger, and 6-year-old me would have been living. You can tell that she was trying to create these type of bangers, most obviously with Gimme a Light, and yet while some of them genuinely bop, they sound too modern to be on an album called Y2K. Like, a lot of these songs remind me more of Deli than a classic Y2K bop like Get Your Freak On. She did explain how the album was inspired by the Y2K trend itself, but personally, I still don't get that vibe when listening to the album. While Y2K didn't quite embody the sound that I was expecting it to, I did enjoy some of the tracks from this album. As I kinda was talking about earlier, Did It First is my favorite track because that baddie have feelings too vibe will always be superior in my eyes when it comes to Ice Spice. Also, Papa was a standout for me, mainly due to her overall delivery and cadence on the track. One of the songs that I didn't initially care for at first, but it's slowly growing on me, is I'm Packing. At first, I wasn't feeling it because of the voice inflection that she was doing. It felt like it just didn't really suit her. But I can't lie, the chorus is kind of catchy, and the beat to the song is that good old trap sound that I just really like. But I do have to say, I low-key think I would have liked the song a little bit more if it was Playboi Carti on the feature opposed to Gunna. And finally, I want to talk about BB Belt for a second, because this was honestly in my top 3 of the whole album. First of all, the beat on here is crazy. Like, this is one of those club banger type of vibes I was talking about earlier. Her flow here is really fun, and it was really dope to see her switch it up. Also, in terms of lyrical content, BB Belt had some of my favorite lyrics of all the songs. Minus the poop line, because girl, I'm kind of over it at this point. Aside from that, Ice definitely is talking her shit on this song, no pun intended, and it just radiates that bad bitch, no one is messing with me type of feeling that I love from anyone. BB Belt is definitely a bop, and I'd honestly love to see this possibly be a single. Overall, the Y2K album was not quite what I expected Ice to deliver, and I'm not sure if I'm feeling this project as a whole. There's definitely some songs on here that I enjoy and I can see myself returning to, but I'm not sure if the album as a whole and the entire listening experience is something I see myself returning to. In my opinion, there isn't much variety sonically to really keep the listener engaged throughout the entire project. I also think that the short length of the album doesn't really help with the repetitiveness of the album. 23 minutes for a debut album is kinda crazy to me, and it simply is not enough time for listeners to get to know Ice Spice. I definitely think she had more than enough capability to add more tracks and give us a full-fledged, well-rounded album, because as it is, Y2K sounds and feels more like a second mixtape opposed to a full debut album. But that was simply my 2 cents about Ice Spice's Y2K album. As a fan, I was definitely expecting more from her, and I can't lie, I am a little disappointed with this release. but I'm definitely interested in hearing all of your guys' thoughts and opinions on Y2K. Did the album meet your expectations from a debut project from Ice Spice, or were you just expecting a little bit more from her? Don't be afraid to sound off in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and making it this far, and hopefully I see all of you guys in the next one. Peace!